After playing the new Stellar Blade demo, all I can say is, why can't we have games like this again today? I'll be going over my own look on Stellar Blade, from the design of the characters and the Stellar Blade world itself, the combat, the music, and my own critiques. But let's take it one step at a time. So, let's dive right in. Hi, I'm Milkers15, and I'll be your Stellar Blade guide. As we first dive into the story, we are literally thrusted into a war zone from space as Eve and her 7th Airborne Squad members are shut down in their space pods towards Earth with one mission: capture or kill the Alpha Naytiba. Upon arriving, we see that the Earth is overrun by the Naytibas in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and boy, that intro is going to be archived for the ages. We never get a beautiful entrance like that these days, not even in the West anymore. We are then gradually introduced to the controls, from moving around, jumping, and eventually combat itself. It starts you off with the basics, from light attacks and heavy attacks that take time to execute but do more damage. And then we have, of course, guarding and dodging, as well as using your powerful attacks, which are called beta skills, once your beta meter is full. But in order for you to refill it, you have to attack your enemies. But if you want to replenish it even further, you will need to do perfect parries and dodging attacks to be rewarded even more. Speaking of which, what's without a hack and slash game without the old perfect parry? For players who really want to hone their skills and show they have adapted to the environment, where if you guard in time just as the Naytiba is about to hit you, it causes the enemy to go off balance, allowing you to deliver more successful damaging blows to your enemies. Now, for the yellow diamonds. When you do a perfect parry or use your beta skills, a diamond will be struck off, until eventually, if you strike all of the diamonds, the enemy is now vulnerable, showing a yellow sphere. And this is where you do your really damaging cinematic retribution attacks. But eventually, we meet the first boss in the game, Brute. You will notice there is another bar beneath its health and yellow diamonds. The second bar is known as shield health, meaning the enemy will take less damage until eventually the shield health is completely gone. When that happens, Brute will take the full damage of your attack. If you get beat by this boss, don't worry, as Eve and Taki will still beat Brute anyway. But upon Eve losing her squad member Taki, we are then in a different environment now, tasked by Adam to find the Hall of Records. This is where we can freely explore the environment around and find materials, SP points, and of course, hacking some Naytibas. Eventually you'll come across obstacles that stop your progress, as you need to find passcodes or other methods of travel where gates are locked from the inside. What I like about this part of the game, if you are a collector gamer, you just get lost in the scenery, making you want to go off the main path. From swimming, parkouring, down the signature yellow paint ledges in these games, looking at every nook and cranny, only to be rewarded with more materials, SP points, and even data logs from previous once survivors of what happened before they came to their demise. But be careful not to get too sidetracked and to use Adam's drone to scan the area, as there are Naytibas hiding around every corner ready to pounce on you. Next we are introduced to camps, just like in Dark Souls bonfires where we can rest and replenish our health, but Naytibas will respawn in their default spaces by doing this. Also having a shop where you can buy potions and grenades that can make the exploration a lot easier. Shot grenades are used to stun your enemies for a short period of time, whereas pulse grenades are used to making your weapon have electromagnetic pulses that disable any Naytiba's armor. Lastly, we have the skill settings, which will introduce you to skill trees, where you upgrade your skills over time. But when we are first introduced, you have to learn perfect dodge. Sorry, that's tutorials for you. Eventually, you will find more enemies to battle, meaning you will have more enemy patterns to learn, as everyone is different from each other. Also, with your upgraded skill trees, you can learn things from aerial charges to ambush attacks that can make Eve kill any Natiba instantly if they don't detect her. But once you do your first mini-boss fight, you are introduced to real-time cues. For example, with this Natiba where he suddenly has a yellow circle flash cue, which means a fatal attack is coming. You cannot parry or block this attack. You can use your dodge at the right time. Failure to do so will get you butchered, making Eve lose a lot of health. But if you unlock more dodge skills in the skill progression, it will allow your dodges to have counterattack properties. But if you see a blue circle fatal attack on the enemy, it means it's going for a grab attack. Again, you have to dodge the attack. Getting grabbed will make Eve lose a lot of her health because of your slow reflexes and not paying attention. If you find the rare body and beta cores, you will have more max health and beta meter. Just like with the Legend of Zelda Piece of the Heart, in the demo I could only find 2. Next we have our first supply camp, which has more resources than a regular camp, with an added weapon upgrades to payphones that allow you to fast travel to other camps. But now we were introduced to the new skill, Blink. So when you see a fatal attack coming, you can then press the left stick forward and the dodge button, making Eve weave behind the enemy, leaving them wide open for attacks. Heading to the top of the parking lot, we are introduced to our second boss battle, Abaddon. This is where the player is now tested on what they have learned and put it all together for this fight, proving their worth. It may take a couple of tries for the player who are new to the hack and slash genre, but it is an awesome fight, as if you're proving to the dev team that you are ready for whatever they throw at you. But this is short-lived, as once you beat Abaddon, you are then introduced to a mini trailer of what's coming in your adventure. When the full game is released, from skating on your sword to new atomic arm guns. But when you have completed the demo, there is a boss challenge where you fight Stalker, playing as Eve with a more developed skill tree, and able to use the drone with L2 and R2 to fire your automatics, with new skills that allow you to see enemy weaknesses and counter attacks. But if you manage to beat Stalker, then I congratulate you. You truly are an angel of the Airborne Squad. The game's official soundtrack is made by Monaca Studios, the same studio who composed the Nier series. Did you know 40% of the soundtrack will be done by Keiichi Okabe himself, while other composers have been credited? We have Oliver Good and Inoue Kaita, who has done works like Voice of Cards Trilogy, Soul Hackers 2, and the Idolmaster series. While we have Jinbei Park, best known for composing the DJ Max series, who goes under the pseudonym name Esty. He has also done works on Tail Weavers and Ragnarok Online series. So let's start with the first track, Star Descent. the bat, you can tell Keiichi Okabe has crafted this masterpiece, using dramatic strings and piano to put the setting in a state of desperation and despair as you see your comrades fall one by one on Eve's radar. Then once you are released by Taki, the dramatic interaction kicks in with the strings from the cello, making the player now ready to fight and no time for remorse. Once the angelic voice strikes in, you know you're having a near fever dream, but you can tell Jinbei has helped with this track as well, as he is known for making drum and bass and dramatic trance tracks. As near the middle you can hear the distorted drum kicks as well as the synthesizers near the end before it loops back again with the angelic vocals. It's an awesome track to make you feel Eve's pain, seeing all the destruction unfold while all of her 7th Born squad members get slaughtered by the Natibas one by one, but still having to fight alongside Taki. Seven's pop music vocals, again Keiichi using the soothing vocals mixed with the piano, as you hear the main pop vocals are very quiet in the beginning, putting you in a place of mysterious mystery and feeling alone, while the soothing sounds and the rain falling on Eve just makes you lost in the scenery of a once inhabited advanced civilization, only to be now ruins clouded in mystery. But once you're in battle, then comes the unified arrangement for combat, where the pop vocals, drums and the bass now become the foreground, while the angelic voice becomes the background, giving it those infectious house vibes, making the whole track feel faster and uplifting, as if you're ready to take on whatever comes your way. I won't be surprised Oliver Good made the pop vocals and the main composer for the combat arrangement side, as he specialises in house music, but he sure knows how to make them work. Some RPGs have been doing this for over a decade. The earliest I've heard was in the Final Fantasy XIII 2, with the new Burden theme with normal and aggressive mix, Fire Emblem Awakening, Calm and Ablaze theme, Resonance of Fate battle themes, and the latest Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, open world and battle music. I wonder, is this the new standard of music for a lot of upcoming RPGs and hack and slash games? Who knows, but it works so well for this game.
Yeah.
The camp tracks are very soothing within itself, as you want to just sit down and reflect on everything that has happened. Track 1, using the acoustic guitar, angelic voices, and the piano are the best combo while playing soothing self-reflection music. Next we have track 2. This one uses the voices and violin as the foreground, but the acoustic guitar is now the background, but the piano is in between, but we've added percussion from the triangle and the cleavage. And lastly we have track 3. The drum kit is now the forefront of the track, giving it that smooth Latin jazzy vibe that you can get lost in. The boss challenge theme when we fight Abaddon just screams Metal Gear Rising vibes, with its heavy metal rock genre adds more flair and adrenaline rush to the player listening and fighting against the abominations of the earth. We also hear angelic voices in the background, reminding us this once angel is now tainted with sin, but as it progresses to dubstep drum and bass section mixed with metal guitar, you have a blood pumping, adrenaline rushing track, and watch them bleed out, literally. It also works so well when having to parry, dodge and weave past until you're finally knocking the T-bar off balance, going full ham on them and doing your cinematic retribution attack. The music team really knew how to make the boss theme so upbeat and to lose yourself in while you're still inside, regardless of all of its grotesque and lost hope in a post-apocalyptic world. They didn't just deliver, they have over-delivered with only a small amount of the soundtrack so far. I am excited to listen to the whole soundtrack once the game has been released. Shame I couldn't get my hands on the vinyl pre-order overseas. Media design team, which consists of Kim Hyung Tae, who is also the director and, might I add, the CEO of Shift Up, and his wife Jiyeon Che, who also designed games like Nikke Goddess of Victory and Destiny Child. The design of Eve herself is absolutely amazing. I mean, what else? Eve's model was scanned by the Korean supermodel Shin Jae-eun. Did I tell you she's 32 as well? What I like about Eve's design, it reminds me a lot of the animes like Symphogear and the video games Hyper Dimension Neptuna. But having the airborne squad members in jumpsuits adds to the post-apocalyptic element of heroine fighters trying to save the world, while doing it with beauty and grace. Did you know it took 1 year to animate and design Eve's hair? But a lot of people who have never seen an Asian woman say otherwise, but we'll get into that controversy for another video. When we look into the technology upon the space colonies and the Earth itself, we can tell it's a futuristic type of universe setting. But upon arriving on Earth for the first time, we can see everything in an absolute ruin due to the Natiba's invasion. But if we look carefully, a lot of the buildings, statues of angels and airships have a lot of references to Christianity, which again we'll talk about in another video. Looking at Adam's design, he definitely looks like he's ready to fly a ship or drive a hover cart. With all the pouches, definitely adds to that scavenger kind of look. But if we look at Adam, Taki and Lily's design together, both with the same colours of clothing, but with Eve, with her own design, is an awesome choice as it brings more attention to her as she is the main hero of the game. But as we go into the abandoned buildings and especially the library, it does look like the Earth is a bit behind on its technology, as we see books, a piano and even a map. Now, the Natibas. As I previously talked about their designs being in references to the Christian Bible, from their wings to the wheels on their heads, but adding the sinister corrupt like presence as to the horror element of the game, as they mindlessly attack whatever comes their way without mercy. But seeing Eve absolutely decapitate them in the cutscenes and fights adds more of the thrill to the player's imagination, as if you're fighting alongside Eve. Seeing the Alpha Natiba has helped us lore deciphers know who the Alpha Natibas really are. But what I like, and finally for the first time in a long while, we have a male who actually saved a woman, where Adam saves Eve from being killed by the Alpha Natiba, as well as showing respect for one another. Even in the trailer, upon Eve having looks of doubt and hopelessness on her face while in deep thought, shows Eve's vulnerabilities to make her seem more human. But in today's society, oh no, we can't have that. We have to keep girls strong and independent at all times, as I myself and many others are sick of seeing girl boss propaganda everywhere and males being talked down upon all the time. Just seeing Adam and Eve interact with each other and having an actual human conversation is a lot more humanly connecting. Watching Eve being repaired by Adam and saying thank you upon a handshake, signifying their trust and respect, just shows that level of humility that they have for one another. But in today's Western media, this will never be allowed. I'm really grateful that Shift Up made this happen. My only critiques is the controls. I feel like the rush attacks are a tad bit delayed and not instant, and the guard mechanic isn't instant either. Everything else seems to be fine. Since this is a demo, I can't go too much in depth, but upon doing the boss challenge against Stalker, I do like the freedom that you have to defeat the Natibas in your own fighting style, from being passive to being outright aggressive when you need to, and not stuck fighting only in one type of playing style. From using the automatic gun when Stalker is afar, as well as being rewarded for dodges and parries, being able to see the enemy's weak points to do more damage. Stellar Blade is the game for gamers I wished for ages. A game that just puts you back to the glory days of the PS2 era. The pure escape and mystery of the world that awaits the player will keep them glued to the screen, with the skill trees and combat will give the player the freedom to progress Eve's fighting style how they see fit. The vast desolate landscapes and environments will take your breath away, from abandoned cities, warehouses to endless deserts, crawling with Natibas that will stop at nothing to kill anyone who stands before them. With the many costumes added to the game, will keep players lost in their own imagination, and even with replayability on top of that. As we see in the trailers, there will be a lot of side quests and other characters that will answer a lot of questions upon the story of Stellar Blade, from how the Earth was ravaged and is now full of monstrous Natibas consuming and destroying all life that comes in contact with it, and the mystery of the Eve Protocol and the airborne squads before her as well. Stellar Blade is to be released on the 26th of April. I myself can't wait to play this game. The gaming journalist who has slagged off the Korean supermodel, the Shift Up team, and tried to guilt trip us players into saying we're perverts for playing this game, really need to take a look at themselves in the mirror and get out of their safety bubbles and to go out in the real world and see its beauty and splendour. But I think that's not going to happen anytime soon, because for today's journalism, that's just too much. Playing victim and stupid is a lot easier. So if you like to escape from the real world for a while, witness a great story while battling evil monsters with beauty and grace, then buy this game. The Shift Up company, who are mainly known for their mobile games, have really cranked it up, and I hope they get the success they deserve, as this game shows the Western gaming world where they're really going wrong, and showing their actual truth, beauty escapism, and sex appeal always sells no matter what. So when the day of the arrival comes, take a day off work, get your controller, and enjoy the world of Stellar Blade has to offer. The next video I make will be about the lore references in this game, so stay tuned for that. This is Wilkshire15, signing out.